It is our pleasure today to have with us Joey Young. He is the Executive Vice President for the American Farm Bureau. And Mississippi's not here. He does a lot of stuff that's in his for. he does a super job. Taking care of this is the Farm Bureau. We really appreciate what job Joey does. Joey has more than a decade of experience in food and agricultural policy from the House of Congress to highest levels of executive branch. Joey previously served as chief of staff for a variety of USDA offices and missionary, including the Office of Progressive Relations, truly developed Porter County Chief of Staff to the Deputy Secretary. He ultimately enrolled the entire department under the Secretary of Agriculture. He also served as Chief of Staff in the U.S. House of Representatives. Joby holds a Juris Doctorate degree in University Stewardship, School of Law, and Bachelor of Arts degree in History Education from the University of Joby. So join me in welcoming Joey Young to bring us up.
Thank you, President Wilhawk, for that kind introduction, and thank you to you and Steve, Vice President Vince Parker, and all the rest of the West Virginia team here for inviting me to join you. And certainly thank you for your leadership, partnership, all the things that we do at American Farm Bureau. We work closely with our state leaders on all sorts of projects. I know you guys might not see that every day or be aware of how closely we work together, but it truly is a team effort. It's one of the things all about Farm Bureau is that whether it's county leader, county apparatus, or state or deep American, we're all working together on these issues, and that's how we succeed. I was very happy to be able to join you guys last night. I was here for the dinner last night. I was able to hear the student speeches. And I got to tell you, I'm a local outlet. They put some distance between me and those speakers. They just did such a great job. And, I'd go right after them. I felt bad and more anxious. So they did a great job walking through so many complex issues. I was just sort of astounded by the grasp they have on ag issues, the things that they've chosen to speak on. And it really makes me feel good about the future of the Farm Bureau, the future of agriculture, to see that. They can only experience that. Actually, this year, each year President of all my boss, we get together and we come up with something really focused on for that year. And so we all throughout the calendar year we drive a lot of our activities around whatever that focus area is, whatever that theme that we culminates in what we do at the convention this year. It's actually Power Young Leaders. So that would encapsulate our leaders that were here last night talking to us, our young farmers and ranchers, our folks that are moving into the industry in various ways, our high school and college students that are on their journey of leadership in agriculture. And it's real important. We chose that theme because we know that in order to tackle all the challenges that are coming ahead, Bill, on the successes of the past and this 100+ year experiment we all put together, Project Farker, and all the successes it's had to guide them future of agriculture for decades. We're going to continue that. We got to really bullfit those leaders' power, start on their leadership journey, so that they could be sitting at these podiums in the future as county leaders and as leaders out there, mighty organizations that everywhere carry us forward. We got a lot of challenges today, a lot of challenges tomorrow. And it'll take all of us. It'll take us future leaders to do. It's talk a lot about. It's harder to talk a lot about membership. And congratulations to West Virginia Farm Bureau as your big age. This year we're talking a little bit about that last night, and that's incredible. That quantity of members is awesome, but that quality of leadership is also the farmers are raising about 3% of the population in the United States. And you go grab everybody else that works around that, all three, that are our suppliers, or working at the dealership, or working in farmers credit, or everybody else that supports the agriculture industry, that sticks up to about 4%. And so that 4%, it's incumbent upon us to message to the other 9%. And not only is it 96% that don't work in agriculture, but oftentimes they're very far from agriculture. There's other industries I think that people encounter and they learn about every single day. A lot of that 96% doesn't actually encounter agriculture in the way that they do other things in their lives. So we had to really be on the top of our game of in terms of quality of our leadership, quality of education we have at every level, county level, in our communities, at state level, state capitals, governors, and state office holders, and then certainly at the federal level, where we were with Congress or regulatory agencies or national level press, or all the way up to the White House many times. And so we're going to work on doing that, and that's what we're all here for, work together. And I'll just touch on a little bit of things that we're seeing in Washington, D.C. that they're occupying our time. We get to go to work every day. You ever have? I worked with a few dozen other staff people at ADBOs that we knew everything from lobby at the federal level, Congress, the White House, and the executive branch, to do those communications to the national level, do what leadership training, developing messages around those things. And we have a lot of priorities and a lot of challenges. Agriculture right now, we all know that better than I did. First and foremost, I think in front of everybody's mind is the farmer economy. And this isn't something that's new. It's continued to be a challenge in the last couple of years here. You continue to see deteriorating conditions. Certainly input prices, you see certain things, and fertilizer and crop protection and equipment and labor and all the rest, fuel, everything from seeing digit increases to quadrupling in some places, and that's something that's an extreme challenge that some company work on. That you find that with the fact that across the board, every single commodity has had declines of prices. So you talk about something like corn, you see a 30% price drop. Soybeans has had a lot of market challenges. A lot of Europe, commodities across the board. We go across the ticker on the CME, and everything's going to be posted now in recent months. Going back actually over the last few years, your rates corn that's been had breaking a point or losing money rate or a few years now. And so that's a big challenge. If you're bounded by trade challenges, you look at the fact that 50% of our soybean sector from the last decades been purchased by China. When that trade disputes were bubbled up in the last year, they sort of halted all this soybean purchase. That day effect on soybean markets. You've seen almost crops over the last few years affect those markets, like corn and beans and other places. And so those are big challenges. We got a little bit of really last year at the end of the year, we pushed really hard for a bridge package of maintenance at the end of the year last year to get us through to this year. When we came into this year, which is part of the Mark Columbia Bill Act that President Trump went called Congress to forward, and that had a lot of things in it, as you all might know. That we did about 80% of our farm bill, which we spent the last couple of years to really push for a real farm bill and express rate that away. So some of our crop programs and crop insurance and some other things, about 80% of the farm bill, the traditional farm bill was included in the One Big Bill Act. We're happy to see that. But unfortunately, a lot of those things were delayed, in implementation of those programs. So that's something that has a little bit of a delay to when that gets in, you start to see effect out there. Also, on Big Beautiful Bill was a real of the 2017 tax bill, in many cases of permanent rates. So that was a big deal. That was something when we came into the year, that was one of our top priorities. We're passing had tax reform, and then we extend a lot of those expiring provisions. That had not been renewed. Our average farm out year across the country would have seen a 9 as a 20% tax increase. That happened. So that was a big priority for us. So on average, our economists have pressed the numbers, and that would have been about $5,000 tax increase per on average, processor car in this country. So a lot of really good business and farm tax provisions included in that. So those things are all good. Those are big pictures. But we have continued challenge. So that Harbor High I mentioned that continues to be the greatest thing. And so we just a few weeks ago, as we moved through this debate, we sent a letter to the White House and Congress, really pushing for two parts. A, outlining exactly how dire to say the economy is now here in fall country, and the fact that we need immediate relief to fall country. So we asked it for another bridge-based program, not just farmers and ranchers wanted. Farmers and ranchers were very clear all the time. On farm or healthy markets, they can make a living. It's similar to a healthy market. But given the state of how things are right now for a lot of folks across the country, rich penny is needed in order to make the next season next year. On top of that, was that's a temporary solution. We have a lot of challenges in farm sector. We have loss of these foreign markets for a lot of our commodities. We have challenges in domestic demand of these inputs that I've mentioned. And so we put forward a whole suite of solutions that we are pushing for the President and administration and Congress to aggressively pursue, and we go a long way to right these shit farm pressure. It's going to take a lot of solutions out there. There's steps like old over schools, E15 and sustainable aviation for IOPs, year-round care, bringing that biofuel. We're going to have trouble in foreign markets for our commodities. We need to really cut every aspect we can because as that E15 is a huge opportunity for I mentioned biofuels that come from feeds and up. So we're pushing for that. Actually, President Joby will go to a White House meeting September week on Thursday. He'll be there talking about this at the White House and outline exactly what he needs this year. We will pair that with the nationwide action order push. I think our grassroots members. So I'm sure some people in this room participate in our action orders. So we send out messages to pocket by the means for you to contact your representatives and founders. And I like these things that we have a joint combined messages. We're saying something like White House meeting when they're near out with we go for you all. So we push this forward for that. That all was on the heels of an action order. The rest of the story a couple weeks ago, we've had, I think, almost 4,000 contacts at Congress, all those regions across the country, just outlining the state of farm economy. It's just these things I mentioned. Some other solutions that we posted we're really pushing on is solving this interstate commerce issue that has developed out of the law that's passed in California called Proposition 12 a few years ago. We moved to the Supreme Court to fight against that. But basically what that law would do is establish precedent to one state in mandate production methods in other states that they're outside the borders of that state. So that allows, in that instance, it allows California to set production methods in West Virginia, in livestock, primarily pork, because we're seeing that really have a huge effect. So that's a lot of pitfalls, and that precedent is a very dangerous one because that's one state, but if you have another state, Massachusetts or New York, Texas or Arizona or any state can come up with any kind of rule, and that farmers in West Virginia and other states are cross-sale on that. Over bottom line, he is producing in a way that just have left honestly your tree of so that's another issue to fix that problem like the pressure level so that we can have even different interstate commerce and agricultural products, not just other things down here across the landscape. For all these states pushing all, we know they're needed. It's a partnership that we share with our state leaders. With this, we work very closely in outreach to congressional reach centers, honestly, with our states, and have that dialogue, and also all of you. So that's what we're going to be working on going forward. There's other things that are that are full blown. The big issue, one of those in the last couple of weeks is beef cattle. There's comments made about the imports of Argentine beef, and that caused a lot of confusion and concern across the country, because everything that I mentioned earlier that is struggling mightily across the country right now, the ag country beef just won't been one bright spot. So any actions or things that might take place that endanger that, for some folks out here, a diversified operation, their cattle herd might be the only thing that's affordable. We've had a purchase administration and other policymakers have a very thoughtful approach to that, and make sure that we all shared the goal of bringing down prices at grocery store consumers. All we use chocolate grocery store too. That goes into every farmer family's kitchen table discussions, like every other American family. We want to do so in a way that actually raise down those prices, and in the meantime, that's a hard part. The ranchers' hard part. We'll be engaged in that discussion, and looking forward to you all part of those series of this. Yeah, there's other things that we work on that may not always be front of your minds. I want to share a little bit of that. There's somebody in the room that may be familiar with the Baker healthy conversations. Others say, well, role in the study, talker. But for years and years, there's a big portion of our population that has big opinions about agriculture, food production methods, and it cares really deeply about health. And we all share that goal. That's where we want to produce healthy food, and food that sustains our neighbors, and that is nutritious and affordable for us. So we share those goals. But in recent, Secretary Robert Kennedy, he came in, brought these issues to the fore, and there's a lot of things that are positive in that session, and there are other things that are real concerning from a agricultural standpoint. Hence, where they had ideas that what actor I had thought about agriculture. So that became a discussion that we were having at a federal level to share that with those policy makers as they pursue their plans, and when they might champion policies that affected agriculture. But it's also become, by virtue of that having such a prominent discussion point at top levels of government, it's led to increase conversation out here at state apples across the country, just across states across the country. So it's something that's important for all of us to engage in. What we found is that when we engage that conversation in the right way, folks understand what we're talking about. You all may have seen that the administration came out with an initial negative reality again. I would say it's a child disease a few months ago, and that report had a lot of things. So they said they want to support farmers and ranchers, these good initiatives, agriculture, how a lot of stuff ideas that it raised. If it was those things you follow through on, that would have been very damaging in agriculture. Restricted farming practices that didn't actually affect health, or that was more grounded in science or any kind of data. And that person appraised a lot of those ideas. And so we met and had a very robust conversation with those policymakers over the course of many months, and shared with them these things. And it wasn't people like me that for sharing that. We actually brought a lot of farmers from across the country. Washington, D.C., outside me, President Duval, and I went to a meeting. They brought a handful of other farmers in. And we have sit at the table with all these policymakers and walk through a lot of the ideas that they've raised, and how it actually translates in form, what that means, how that actually, these things are put into practice. And you do something or have aggressive curbing of pesticide use, or mandates, or bans, or other things, that can, more fixed period. And by the way, it doesn't really have an LP. And you talk through those things. And that forward voice made a big impact, because when they came out with their second report, which was sort of, their plan was to do an initial report, raise a lot of questions, and the second report starts policy, but it was much more aligned with what agricultural farmers and ranchers I had the same for years. I actually make you say it. So I'm here to tell you that conversation works. I work with that instance with all the White House folks at Health and Human Services Department, other places. But it's going to have to, conversation's going to have to, with 1,000 chops of let's lead that conversation, and then you all too, because a lot of people are out there talking about it, and that 96%, and I agree. You know, we do a lot of polling of agriculture since well. The sentiment is out there polling about agricultural issues. These affect our one thing we ask every poll is a question about what populace, what is level of trust they have in the farmers or ranchers. And every poll, you know, month after month, year after year, farmers and ranchers are either the most trusted profession or sometimes take place in nurses. So I'll say, yeah, everyone's one nurse of the lady boas, but right now our last poll it numbered in at 88%. So that's incredibly high. I mean, other professions were, you know, they've been down to 60 and 50%. So that's a great resource. People know the farmers and ranchers go a lot of heart, soul, and what we do is we care about a product, we care about what we produce for the rest of the society and our communities. But at the same time, it just trouble things like, you know, what I share with you is that we broke it out by Gen Z, which was sort of your early 30s down into folks that are maybe just graduated college. 65% of those folks would be in favor of any pesticide, yet 33% think you should mandate to have all the organic production. And so that's a challenge. Now, at the same time, that same group of people thinks, 78% of them thinks that we should take policy actions to free fresh fruits and vegetables from American producers be more available at grocers. We have to make sure that we have that conversation shared with them. The first thing you're gonna have our clientele, and just what some of these things mean. Have multiple budget availability to have that healthy product on the grocery store shelf. It's at price point that a family can afford. This would be available. The difference was visible to be there the next day. You can't pull. And so we put a lot of this needs to be all about 5 3 years. We put a lot of extra effort into this because of that. This discussion really from so we have resources and get on that. As I mentioned, it's a conversation we're at on your path, but it's also something we want to give you all resources. Have that discussion to do, and there's a best practice for how to talk about this. That Sarper shared guy shared it. We all shared the goal of health and how to come to families and do this work. And then use an agri platform to move, have those deeper discussions about the science and data around difficult conversations around pesticides or biotech products and things of that nature. And so, you know, I would suggest to you all, if you're interested, to visit fp.org. Delta Air America, the blog resources on there for you. And of course, you know, we always provide that to our stations and the team here to help guide that discussion too. But we have anytime, you know, first we have meetings with folks like Austin, and he's talked a couple times. He's Austin Lawrence, I've spoken to you. They come out, they do a lot of training on these issues. So we're here for you. You do want to be a brick farm. So, you know, there's other things I can talk about. Agricultural labor, continued challenges there. One little victory, not a little victory, big thing with agriculture, or the adverse effect wage rate, which is something that has really been heard on farmers for years as that full of this the government takes away wages across the country. It's just ratcheted up and up and up artificially over the years. And we want to big year the Trump administration redid the rule that governs that, and it's brought those wage rates down to a reasonable, rational, actual market-based level. Significantly in many places, a little different ever since it was made, but big belief on that. We got a lot to go on agriculture. When you play our workforce, 47% of our workforce is undocumented, and that's a challenge. Those folks do career work across the country in many places, and if they were all abandoned tomorrow, farmers and ranchers would be in a tight spot. Our society would be in a tight spot. So we're working on that really tough issue. And then the other folks we need for having more workable gas program issue. A lot of that stuff take action to Congress, which is nothing. We're continuing to work on that every day. So we're thankful for the victories we got. We'll use some shots this year. So that's I'll be able with that update of just the sort of things that we're focusing on your behalf. I mean, I would empathy to you all for being a part of this. I get to go to work every day, and it works like verbal on-site rep folks on your behalf, our staff at the federal and state level, and our volunteer leaders across the country to go and advocate without primary things and work here. And I really enjoy that burnout with I consider the youth privilege. But I also know that no matter what we do, we could be the best Farm Bureau, the staffers, and state presidents and state administrators and other staff, but we could be. But we would never be as effective if we didn't have the engaged, passionate, and talented membership. I spent a lot of time in meetings and having dialogue, flexible from other industries in Washington, D.C., whether it's finance, or banking, the technologies of healthcare, or energy, or whatever. I tell you guys that nobody out there, they make really some these powerful companies and other things, and nobody else out there has the engaged, committed membership is here just passionate about where his youth is and Tiger preference and farm priorities. And that's a secret web we have that's part of the secret ingredient in our secret sauce that makes us as influential as we are. And so we've spent decades having worked to really hear problems, over victories, help us get that both the society. And that comes from you all. So you being here, being a part of this, wondering about you to be engaged, build from your ideology, the policy process to give us our march orders and priorities and concerns that we're supposed to go out and work on. It's critically important. And this piece I mentioned that I started with is build the next generation for, in 15, 20 years, a lot of people in this room are already sitting here. We have to make sure that next generation can belong and builds on the success that you all have built. We look forward to you. So thank you for what you do. We look forward to what we do. We look forward to hear what you guys come up with as the rest of your meeting as we go through the RNA 180 and turn our policy and go forward to tackle this challenge again.